Hey, all you good-looking deep water swimmers, how are you this evening? It's time for 5 Minute Friday. Today we take one word, try to take it in 5 minutes and give you the explanation of just a simple word that God uses all the time in the Bible. Tonight we use the word righteousness. Righteousness is holy and upright living in accordance with God's standards. The word righteousness comes from a root word that means straightness. Straightness. It refers to a state that conforms to an authoritative standard, to the laws of whatever being we choose to follow. In our case, it's God. God's character is the definition and source of all our righteousness. Therefore, man's righteousness is defined in the terms of God. In the Old Testament, the term righteousness is used to define man's relationship with God and, of course, with other people. Because we have a relationship with other people through the righteousness of God. In the context of relationships, righteous action is action that promotes the peace and well-being of human beings in the relationship to one another. For example, had Adam and Eve acted righteously in the relationship with God and obeyed him, everything would have been fine. But since they did not obey him, it defined their righteousness, and they were found unrighteous before God. The Ten Commandments and related laws defined Israel's relationship with God. To obey those laws was to act righteously, because such obedience maintained the covenant relationship between God and his people. Now, the sacrificial system of the Old Testament, the killing of the goats and the doves and sheep and whatever it might have been, and the cross of the Lord Jesus in the New Testament shows man's need for righteousness. Sin is nothing more than disobedience to the terms that define man's relationship with God and with other people. Since the fall in the Garden of Eden, man is inherently unrighteous. As the prophet Isaiah said, "But we are all like an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are like filthy rags. We all fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away." Man cannot be righteous in the sight of God in his own merits. Therefore, man must have God's righteousness transferred to him. And the cross of the Lord Jesus is the public demonstration of God's righteousness being transferred to mankind of whoever would accept the sacrifice of God's Son upon that cross. God accounts or transfers the righteousness of Christ to those who trust in him and believe in him in all things. We do not become righteous because of our inherent goodness. Deep water swimmers know that God sees us as righteous because of our identification by faith with his Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. In other words, we become righteous once we give our hearts, our lives, our souls to the Lord because of his sacrifice to transfer his righteousness to us. That's righteousness. That's 5 Minute Friday. We'll see you again Sunday morning. Be here. Like us, share us, support us, help us. Do whatever you got to do. Bring somebody with you. Make sure they know about us for Sunday morning. God bless you. We'll see you then.